Forced by the sudden economic collapse that dries up work opportunities in Denver, Colorado, a construction worker named John Nada packs up his life and his tools in a single bag, leaves everything he ever knew behind, and heads to Los Angeles in hopes of finding a job, starting over, and building a better life for himself. After hours of walking, John reaches a park, sees a group of people surrounding a preacher, and slowly approaches them to find out what has them so completely mesmerized. Then, John hears the preacher, who so convincingly announces that they have taken the hearts and minds of the world's leaders, blinded humanity to the true human spirit, and corrupted them with greed. A few minutes later, John notices the police arriving to disperse the crowd, walks away completely perplexed about who the preacher was talking about, and wonders whether there's any truth to it, or if it was just a crooked reality cooked up in the mind of a conspiracy theorist. Moments later, a fellow construction worker named Frank Armitage, who has recognized John's desperation, approaches him, introduces himself, and tells him that he lives in a shanty town called Justiceville, near a local church, which offers free food and shelter, and offers to take him there. A few minutes later, while the duo enjoys a meal, Frank shares that he was forced to lead his wife and young son in his hometown, Detroit, due to the sudden economic collapse that bankrupted numerous factories and cost him his job, and adds that after traveling through states searching for work, he had arrived in Los Angeles a few months back. That evening, while a group of people gather around and watch TV, a mysterious warning from a hacker interrupts their program. "We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness, vote. They have made us indifferent to ourselves." While watching the ominous message, a confused John notices the preacher from earlier standing across the street and mouthing the same exact words as the hacker, which piques his curiosity. Seeing this from a distance, John discreetly follows him there and is surprised to find an eerie message that says, "They live, we sleep," written across the walls. Once again wondering what this means and who they are, John discreetly inspects what's going on, notices that the choir song heard is a recording and is used to obscure a meeting between Gilbert and the hacker. While carefully inspecting the seemingly curious items, including dark sunglasses laid out on a table in front of him, John quietly listens to the discussion in which the duo discuss that since they will keep jamming the signal, strong people need to join the movement to make effective progress. Then, John accidentally discovers a hidden room full of cardboard boxes, and before he can learn more about it, the preacher appears out of nowhere and questions him. As a shocked John mumbles that he was just visiting the church and desperately hopes that the preacher will believe him. He's amused to see the preacher change his tone within a few seconds, drop his interrogation, and offer to show him the revolution. That night, the police suddenly raid Justiceville and the church, causing absolute mayhem and destruction, and forcing everyone to start running in every direction, desperately hoping to avoid capture. As John runs away to a dark alley, he's shocked to see the hacker and the preacher, who have been singled out and pulled aside, being attacked by the police. And as he tries to come up with a way to help them, he is more perplexed to hear the preacher tell the police that he knows what they are. The next morning, while everyone returns to Justiceville and tries to recover what's left of their belongings, John goes to the church and finds it completely damaged and thrashed. He then cautiously looks around inside, is relieved to learn that the secret room remains hidden, and, convinced that whatever is inside the boxes is the key to finding out what's going on, takes a box and discreetly heads to a hidden alley. There, John inspects the contents of the box, is quite surprised to find it filled with dark glasses, takes a pair, hides the box in a trash can, and heads to the city. There, after making sure no one is watching, John subtly puts on the glasses and is left utterly stunned as the world around him suddenly transforms into black and white. To his horror, the ordinary advertisements and billboards that moments earlier seemed completely harmless and even quite tempting now reveal disturbing subliminal commands to obey and conform, which leave him horrified and confused out of his mind. This is terrifying. To make matters worse, John is soon terrified to see a man who, through the glasses, is revealed to be a grotesque, bug-eyed creature. He takes off the glasses to see an ordinary-looking man, but is once again taken aback to see the terrifying creature as soon as he puts them back on. Desperately trying to understand what he's seeing, John continues walking around with the glasses on and notices a few more creatures hidden behind perfectly natural-looking human facades. After a couple of hours wandering around in utter shock and terror, John heads into a supermarket where he sees one of the creatures giving a speech on TV. Wondering how far the ordeal goes, John suddenly works out that the creatures must somehow be related to what both the hacker and the preacher were talking about. Left terrified by what he sees, John rushes out and is soon chased by two creatures working as police officers who question him about where he got the special glasses that have suddenly revealed the truth they have been trying to hide. Outraged by the offer, John refuses to engage, beats up the officers, fatally shoots them, and is amused to see that they are just as mortal as humans are. John then quickly steals their weapons, and as more police cars start arriving, flees the area. Then, hoping to find somewhere to hide, John barges into a bank, where he sees more creatures, both as part of the bank employees and as customers. Moments later, Just as he proceeds to kill a creature, John is shocked to see him disappear into thin air and realize that, on top of everything else, they have the ability to teleport. John sees a mysterious drone surveilling him and shoots it down. Moments later, a human police officer arrives, and as he proceeds to approach John with his weapon drawn, John calmly disarms him, and once he confirms that he is human, spares his life and orders him to leave. However, as soon as he sees John, terrified by news of John's killing spree, which has made headlines, Frank freaks out, tells him that he has to focus on his work for the sake of his family, informs him that he wants nothing to do with him, and orders him to leave. John quickly puts on the glasses, is relieved to see that his new friend is human, hence asks him to put on the glasses, and is annoyed when Frank refuses. Determined to show Frank the terrifying reality, John urges him to reconsider, and soon a fight ensues between the duo. After a lengthy and brutal fight, John momentarily subdues Frank and forces him to wear the glasses, which shakes him to his core. Frank rushes to the windows as if to double-check what he had already seen, once again becomes horrified by the eerie messages he sees on billboards, and still perplexed, bombards John with endless questions about the identity of the creatures, their goal, and how long they have existed among them. Exasperated by this and hoping to calm his friend down, John tells Frank everything he knows, which isn't much, and the duo agrees to find the people who had made the glasses, so that they can find out as much as they can about the creatures. A couple of days later, Gilbert, who unbeknownst to the duo has been leading the resistance movement against the creatures, tracks down Frank, who is relieved to see him, and takes him back to the motel. Once there, a woman from Justiceville warmly welcomes the duo, assures them that everyone there is human, and gives them more efficient contact lenses in place of the glasses, which attract unwanted attention and can place them in danger. Moments later, Frank and John are shocked to learn that TV signals that have the ability to keep humanity in a blissful trance are continuously broadcast by the creatures 24/7, even when TV sets are turned off. Before they can process this and understand the implications, the duo are also informed that the creatures have come from a different planet, are changing the Earth's climate to replicate that of their home planet while robbing it of its valuable natural resources, and once it depletes, will move on to their next victim. Gilbert also adds that the aliens who have identified humanity's greed as soon as they arrived have been offering endless wealth and power to humans who will join their cause, and have successfully recruited many, including the world leaders, to collaborate with them on their mission. Despite understanding the frustration, Gilbert, who knows that they won't win such a war without further preparation and recruitment, calms them down, begs them to be patient, and announces that the only way they can manage to defeat the aliens is by working discreetly, infiltrating them as collaborators and spy on them from inside to find the location of the powerful signal source and shut it off. Moments later, before the duo can even finish their conversation, to the sheer terror of everyone, the police show up out of nowhere, blast their way inside, and cause utter mayhem. Despite the unexpected horror, the group tries to fight back as much as they can, but many are killed in cold blood, including Gilbert. Meanwhile, on the other side of the chaos, conveniently armed at the time of the ambush, Frank and John fight back and manage to kill numerous officers until they are cornered. Luckily, Frank accidentally activates a mysterious portal using the wristwatch, and after convincing John, who tries to risk his life to search for Holly, to remain hidden, the duo quickly jump in to escape the immediate danger. The duo finds a room full of impeccably dressed people attending a lavish party and quietly steps inside to find out the cause of the celebration. As soon as they do, Frank and John are shocked to their core to see an alien thanking the collaborators for giving them access to Earth's resources, along with their unwavering support and help to exceed their goals in the past year, and reminding them how much they all profited in exchange for their help. He then announces that according to their projections, the whole planet, where they see a few aliens teleporting back to their home planet. The duo remain quiet and follow the drifter, who promises to show them the center of the whole facility and takes them to the studio of Cable 52, from which the powerful signal that has seemingly blinded humanity to the truth is transmitted to the satellite. The satellite then sends out these mysterious signals and traps people in an endless trance. As the duo continues fighting for their lives, they are relieved to find Holly, who quickly joins them and gives them directions to the route. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to John, Holly suddenly reveals herself to be a collaborator who has infiltrated the resistance movement to spy on them, shoots Frank in the head, kills him, rushes to the roof to find John and stop him before he destroys the signal. Just as John proceeds to shoot and destroy the satellite, Holly walks up behind him, holds him at gunpoint, and orders him to step away from the satellite. John then decides to make the ultimate sacrifice, kills Holly using his hidden gun, and rushes to the satellite. Then, he quickly shoots and destroys the signal, but is soon fatally shot by the officers hovering over the building in helicopters. Knowing that he has successfully managed to secure a future for his kind, John dies with a smile on his face. Meanwhile, elsewhere, as the signal abruptly stops, humans around the world suddenly wake up from the trance and are shocked and disgusted to their core to finally see the true nature of the aliens who had successfully managed to blend in among them for so long, along with the disturbing subliminal messages.